guys, welcome to today's video, which is my journey with sleep therapy, which I wanted to do this video just because it was like a big deal to go to it. It took up a lot of my life, and I couldn't really find anything like this on YouTube, and I was looking for information before I did it and during it, and I couldn't really find anyone's like first-hand experiences of it or anything like that, and I just thought, well, I'll be that person. What if someone else is looking for me? So yeah, let's start at the very beginning, I guess. I went to my rheumatologist once, just as a regular thing, because I have systemic lupus and fibromyalgia, but at the time we didn't know that, but still it doesn't matter. And he asked me what my two worst symptoms to live with were, and I said pain and fatigue. And for the fatigue, he was like, we need to be making sure you're getting a proper night's sleep, because he'd asked me a load of questions, and I said, I just don't sleep, and it's just awful. Like, I'm in too much pain to sleep, and then because I haven't slept, I'm in more pain the next day, and it's just a vicious cycle that goes round and round like that. Yeah, so let's get you tested for sleep apnea. So I went home and I had a at-home test done where I had to hook myself up to this machine and yeah, do an at-home test and test for sleep apnea. And turns out I don't have sleep apnea, which is good. Yay! It's nice to be told you don't have something when I'm so used to going in and coming out with new diagnoses. Yeah, and then I went back to him and he said, okay, I need to send you to this sleep hospital literally in the middle of London. And I went, I talked to the people, and they organised me to have an at-home test, which I think was around this time last year actually, which is funny that now I'm making this now. How weird. Yeah, and I had to wear this watch, and it monitored me throughout the day and throughout the night, and I also had to keep a log of everything, which was actually really quite difficult because you had to log everything, how many times you got up in the night and for how long for and what did you do, and oh, it's just a lot. And that then led to me being asked to come in for an overnight stay and be tested at the hospital, which I did. And a lot of this is in my lupus update videos, but I wanted to have this one specifically all about the sleep journey I'm on. So yeah, I went into the sleep hospital. I had my overnight thing. I was nervous. That was the first time I'd ever stayed in hospital overnight, and it was just weird for me in many ways, sleeping there and being tied up to a machine that was tied to the table drawer thing next to me, and then but the door was unlocked and anyone could come in and out, and that just made me scared. It was the worst night's sleep ever. And actually they did catch stuff on, they're filming you as well and recording noises, so it's just a lot. It's very intense. They caught a lot of my weird things I do in the night on camera and on recording, which was good because then they saw firsthand what I was talking about. I admit that it was very minor versions of what I can sometimes do in the night, because I do sleepwalk, I do sleep talk, I have some I can't think of the term for it now. What is it? Night terrors and stuff like that. Yeah, so, and I hallucinate, which is the worst thing I think about all my sleep problems. I would say that's what I think is the worst thing anyway. He caught some of that and he diagnosed me there and then with insomnia, parasomnia and restless leg syndrome. And he said that really there's two ways to treat it, which is medication or this sleep therapy. And I said, well, I'd rather not be on any more medication, but also it's very difficult to find medications that work with every other pill I'm on safely and stuff like that. And also I don't really like the idea of sleeping pills anyway. I never have, and I am home alone at night a lot, so I wouldn't want to I wouldn't feel safe taking them if I was here alone, basically. And he was like, I totally agree, I think you'll actually be perfect for the sleep therapy sessions. So I waited. So I've done it now. It's a 5-week course. You go well, for me it was every Friday, 5 weeks in a row. And this is my experience of it. The first session I left kind of frustrated. I didn't understand why that first session was necessary. It felt like an intro that could have either been sent to us on a printout or an email, or it felt like something that could have been at the beginning of the second session. To me, it just was like a longed out introduction to what we were there for. We kind of, I think all of us felt that way, that it was like, well, we know what we're here for because we've been told already. Like, and also, if you're like me, I did lots of my own research trying to find what it was all about and how it works. And so, yeah, that was kind of annoying. And then we got started, and I will say there were many times that I felt like the group setting, because you were in a group, I think there was like 10 of us, and a sleep therapist running the sessions. I will say I don't necessarily think the group format worked all the time for it, because every time she would say, oh, like, and this happens, have any of you experienced that, and what have you found works for you? And then we'd take up the whole session just answering that one question, and then you could tell that she didn't have time for that, so would have to like cut us off and move on to something else. Or, and then that like isn't nice when you're opening up about, like, because people were opening up about trauma, about mental health, about everything, and to be like kind of cut off because you don't have time just feels wrong. It just felt wrong to me. Not even just when I was cut off, but when anyone was, it was just like, ugh, then why are we doing it in this group setting? It clearly doesn't work. And they were an hour and a half long. Were they? Yeah, they were an hour and a half long, the sessions. To be quite honest, they did fly by whilst you were in there. But yeah, I don't know, sometimes it just felt like the group setting didn't work, and I don't know if that's just because they don't have the resources and the money and the time to give everyone what they need individually. But yeah, I don't know, there was a lot of like, you know, you're sitting there wanting to get what you need out of it because you've waited so long for it and you want it to work. But someone else is also doing that whilst they're answering questions or asking questions, and it's just you're taking up each other's time, and then yeah, to be cut off just felt wrong and awful. So there was that. Essentially, there's like a step-by-step we had to do. We had homework every single week, and there's like a step-by-step you have to do to like fix your sleep, basically. And she did say that like it's been proven that people are night owls or early birds, and I've always my whole life said I'm a night owl, and that I, even before I got ill, which I don't know, that could be to do with my illness, I've always needed more sleep than most people. A lot of people can make you feel like you're lazy or crazy or just making it up when you say stuff like that, like, oh yeah, but I'm a night owl so I can't get up early for work or for school or whatever it is. And a lot of people don't get that, but she said it's a very real thing, and that's when people get sleep problems, is when like a night owl has to work early shifts or an early bird has to work night shifts, then you'll get sleep problems, which I thought was really interesting and made me feel less bad about like when I can't sleep and then I get up late because I've literally not gone to bed till 5 in the morning. So yeah, this was specifically CBTI, which is CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia. That's what the I is. So that's what the actually was. And I find the CBT method works in many ways, but also doesn't work for me in particular in many ways. I feel like a lot of it's like, just do this, and then you're like, oh, but I can't, and they're like, but just do it. Like, I don't know if that even makes sense. If you've been to any kind of CBT, maybe it makes sense to you, but a lot of the time I felt like they don't really have answers, and that they also expect you to just do stuff that you physically can't do, and if you can't do that, they don't have another solution, and that I find frustrating, because not everything's going to work for everyone for everything all the time. Yeah, essentially we first had to start with just writing down our sleep, like for the first week after the introduction session. Write down your sleep, when you go to bed, when you wake up, and then you had to do all of this math, and I hate math. It was my least favourite subject the whole way through my whole life. I hate math and I'm not good at it and I hate it. And we had to do proper like proper math and I hated it, to get this like calculation of your sleep efficiency. So like how well you're sleeping. And we went in and everyone was like, oh, mine was higher than I thought. And mine was the lowest in the group. I think mine was 67%, whereas a lot of people had like 80 something percent. And the optimal is like 90 and above. That's where we were aiming to get. And basically this calculation was like how many hours you're asleep, and then you find an average of that, and then how many you take away, like how much you're waking up in the night. It just was all very complicated like that. But I did it. I did my best. And then the second week we had to pick a time to wake up, which they called our anchor time. And I found that really useful because the sleep doctor I'd seen about the sleep apnea kept saying to me, set a bedtime, we go to bed at this time every night. And then I'm like, but I just lay there awake, like I've got insomnia. And they didn't have anything else for me to do there. So that was frustrating, and I always thought it made more sense to start with the morning, so that made sense to me. And I was like, oh good, because yeah, that's because when she said she asked the whole group, what can you control more, what time you wake up or what time you go to sleep? And everyone said what time you go to sleep, and I was like, no, it's what time you I said no, it's what time you wake up, because you can't force yourself to go to sleep. You go to sleep when you go to sleep, when you're tired enough to sleep. But when you wake up, you can set alarms, there's things to do to wake yourself up. And she was like, exactly. So she was like, pick like the earliest you have to get up. So say if you were at work and sometimes you have to get up at 7, sometimes you have to get up at 8, sometimes you have to get up at 8:30, you'd pick to get up at 7 because that's your earliest, because then you're never going to be playing around with your sleep having to get up earlier. So you go with your earliest. So I picked 7 AM, which when you're going to bed at 5 was very difficult. difficult, lemon difficult. I struggled with that. It was hard. And yeah, you had to get up at the same time every single day of the week, no matter what time you went to bed. And that was the thing. And they told us you'll suffer before it gets better, and this is what they meant. Then the third week, so then you'd work out a new sleep efficiency based on that, which would often be worse than the first week, because obviously you're like making yourself get up, you're not letting yourself have the extra rest. Also, everyone in the room apart from me, because I have lupus, wasn't allowed to nap either during the day. I was, because of my health problems. But yeah, so you had to not nap and then do a new sleep efficiency. Then the next week you pick a bedtime based on your sleep efficiency. So it was like a way to work it out, where you counted back and you were like, okay, so my body clearly needs this amount of sleep based on your 2 weeks of like sleep diaries. My body, say, I don't know, my body needs 7 hours sleep. So then if you had to get up at 7, you'd count back and you'd go to bed at midnight. That would be what you would do. So the third week you went to bed at that time. I think actually mine might have been 11. I think mine was 11. And I still thought that was wrong, because I still always felt like I needed more sleep than that, but hey ho. You then had to, yeah, do the next week of going to bed at that time and getting up at that time. Like, that is what we're doing. Go to bed at that time, get up at that time. And then everyone's sleep efficiencies had got better. The problem with this was that I got really unwell. I had a flare and I got like normal people sick. And the sleep therapist had said to me at the very beginning, your lupus comes first. So if you're in a flare, you can't force yourself to get up earlier than you need to. And if you're ill, you can't force yourself to do this and this and this. So I actually never got the full 5-week experience like everyone else did, because I kept on having to go back to week 1. You know what I mean? Because people had like got used to getting up at 7, got used to going to bed at 11, and then they were testing the theory. And if your sleep efficiency then wasn't 90%, you played around with either giving yourself less sleep or more sleep to try and get it there. It's very mathematical, like I said. I didn't get to do that because I never got like 3 weeks in a row where I wasn't ill, and I still haven't since then. So I'm annoyed because I haven't I'll do a week of like getting up at 7 and then I'll get ill, and it could be that's doing it because I'm not letting myself get enough sleep. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really know that works for someone who has other illnesses. A lot of it I did take away from and found useful. Stuff like there's a difference between tired and sleepy. I always feel tired, I never feel sleepy. Tired is just when you're tired. Sleepy is when you're doing this because you literally can't keep your eyes open, which I don't experience. So that's why I struggle to sleep. And I was like, that makes so much sense, because she said go to bed when you're sleepy. And I was like, but I'm always tired. And she was like, no, go to bed when you're sleepy. And then I was finding that that was like really late at night that I was finally going like this. So I was having to like stay up for ages. So it's still a work in progress. And I have to get to a point where I'm feeling well enough to be able to do like the 3 weeks in a row and figure it out again. Because I've not had a chance to do that since. I've not had 3 weeks in a row where I haven't had a flare. And because one day throws the whole thing, so you can't. Oh, it's so frustrating, but I just don't know that it works for people with other illnesses. I'm really not sure about that, so that's annoying. At this point though, I must admit I have definitely taken a lot of the tips. They say don't do anything in your bedroom apart from getting changed, sleeping and intimacy. Don't like do yoga in your room, don't do anything else in your room basically. Like don't watch TV, don't go on your laptop. I don't do that anyway, so that was fine, so I've continued to do that. I go on my phone less in bed and I try to go on it. I did go cold turkey for a long time and stopped using it. I find it when my boyfriend's on nights that I definitely go on my phone before bed. It's just like I guess like a comfort thing. I'm not really sure, but yeah, so it's stuff like that. They call it sleep hygiene. Yeah, my pain just has a huge factor in it, and I don't know how to work around that. But I have been discharged from the sleep hospital now. They kind of said to me like there's not much else we can do for you other than giving you sleep tablets. It's just something you're going to have to continue to work on. I have though since that had far less parasomnia stuff. I've been sleepwalking less, sleep talking less, hallucinating less, but I think that's because I've been working on all of me as a whole. At the same time, I've spent a lot of time trying to work on my mental health, my self-care, my self-judgment, my sleep, my everything, like, and I'm really trying. I've been really doing that for a long time now, so I think that that's impacted all those things that have improved as well. I definitely think it was worth doing. I don't regret doing it, but I just don't. I haven't figured it out for me yet, but I have the tools there ready. My health just needs to comply. And now I'm actually being referred for autogenic training, which is to do with the fact that all of my doctors keep saying that I have a real big problem with my nervous system. Basically, my nervous system is always in fight or flight, so I'm never relaxed, and I always feel like my nerves are like this inside me. Like, and it's not, I don't feel nervous and I don't feel anxious, but it's literally like my insides are vibrating all the time, subtly, and then certain things will trigger it to do with like my PTSD and some trauma that I have, and then it's like up here and I cannot get it to go away. But it can be like the littlest thing that can trigger it, and I can't live like that. Like, I end up like a mess, and it just feels like my entire body is vibrating. It's awful. And yeah, I'm going to go to that, and apparently that's going to teach me practical ways that I can actively work on that and bringing my nervous system back down to normal, because also that nervous system is also holding trauma from getting ill and being ill, and it's holding stress and frustration from being ill, and it can't heal itself. So I have to go and do this to do that, and I'm really actually looking forward to that. I think it'll be a big game changer. I'm nervous because it says that my first appointment is an assessment to see if I qualify for it, and that's kind of scary because I feel like I'm going for a test or something and I don't want to fail because I want the help. but as my boyfriend said, the doctors at the sleep hospital were so good that I don't think they would have referred you if they didn't think you were going to get it. And that is one thing I will say, every doctor I came into contact with at the sleep hospital was above and beyond amazing, thorough, kind. Even stuff like, and if you're a spoonie, this will be like mad to you, or if you're a disabled person or someone that goes to the hospital a lot, this will be mad to you. He even went as far as to, he would write his letter that gets sent to my GP and that I get a copy of in front of me and ask me if there's anything I want to change, if there's anything I want to take out. Who has the decency? None of the doctors do. I got a doctor recently who wrote down that I was 5'4" and a lot of a higher weight than I actually am, and he never weighed me or measured my height. He just wrote that down at the top of it. Like, I'm 5'8", by the way. I'm definitely not 5'4", and I definitely am not the weight that it said, so that was very bizarre. So that's what I mean, having him actually take the time to sit there and write it in front of me and be like, do you want to take anything out, did I get anything wrong? Oh, just makes the world of difference. Why can't all doctors be like that? It's so annoying. So yeah, that was my sleep therapy journey. It's still an ongoing thing, which they told me, like, it's not something that you'll leave and you'll be cured. Like, it's tools, and now I have those tools. I know what I need to do. It's just literally finding a week where I feel well enough to start again. I've been very ill over Christmas and up until now, so yeah, that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful in some way. Please do subscribe if you aren't already, and if you have any questions about the sleep therapy, definitely message me because I'd love to talk about it. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.